Today we are going to focus on kitty cats because they need equal time. By the way, cats are not just small dogs. Another time long ago, Leonardo da Vinci said the smallest feline is a masterpiece. And they are. And we have 13 masterpieces. And you know what? I didn't sleep well last night. When I did sleep, I had nightmares about cats. Not good. Anyway, so I'm going to start out with kind of an overview on how our cats should be fed and what we should be looking for. And then we're going to do a little bit of sciencier science for those who have been begging for such things. That's a term. Good morning, Bonnie. That is a term that that Gwen came up with in one of her cute videos. So we do have sciencier science today. Okay, so let's talk about what high quality food is for a kitty cat. We need to look at their physiologic and metabolic needs when we're choosing food so that we get something that is species appropriate or biologically appropriate. So that's going to be food that best resembles their natural diet, which is the evolutionary diet of the cat, because that will put the least stress on their GI system, provide the best nutrition, and support their best long-term health. So that diet is going to be comprised of whole, fresh, human-grade, animal-based proteins and fats. So that means homemade raw or some of the commercial raw foods that are doing a good job. Many foods, even canned foods and foods marketed as grain-free foods, contain non-meat-based proteins like soy or peas or corn because they cost less. So if you're the pet food company and you're worried about your profit margin, what are you going to do? You want to get your protein level up to a certain point. You throw in some non-meat proteins to bring the price point down and the profit margin up. So almost all commercial canned and kibble cat food contains pet grade, and we know what that is. That's the waste product meats that are not fit for human consumption, and other waste ingredients. Cats also need a moisture-rich diet. Feeding moisture-depleted dry food, especially if it's free-fed, so we leave it out free choice and let our cats graze, worst thing we could ever do. But that has caused tons and tons of health problems for our kitty cats, including obesity, periodontal disease. We talked about how the sugars from the carbohydrates, when the starches break down, that leaves a coating on the teeth, changes the microbiome in the mouth, and we end up with more periodontal disease, not less. And cats are very interesting. They tend to grab their kibble, swallow it whole. If you've ever seen your cat regurgitate their dry food, it comes up looking like whole dry kibble. They do not chew. Lower urinary tract disease and kidney disease are killing our kitty cats, and it's due to a lack of moisture in their diet. And they're desert creatures. They really don't drink very much, and when they're on a dry food diet, they have a super concentrated urine, which becomes super saturated, which means they make crystals and get obstructions. So that is killing our kitty cats. Yes, this video will stay on our Facebook page, and you can share it. So we need minimally processed foods. We talked yesterday about digestibility of food, and we know from human nutrition it's healthiest if the nutrients are consumed in their natural unprocessed form. We know that by digestibility studies that we talked about yesterday. The more we provide nutrients in an unnatural form, the more likely we're providing them in a less than optimal manner. Our cats are suffering because we feed them a highly processed diet with synthetic vitamins, because the synthetic vitamins replace the damage and loss that happens during the high heat extrusion process of making dry kibble. Cats should have a diet low in carbohydrates. They will overeat carbohydrate foods in an attempt to derive enough protein, as energy from carbohydrates cannot replace their need for energy from protein. We'll talk about that a little more in the second half when we get to the sciencier science. Because they overeat the carbohydrates trying to satisfy their protein needs, that puts them at risk for obesity, diabetes, inflammatory bowel disease, fatty liver disease, and pancreatitis, and something called triaditis, which is basically pancreatitis, gallbladder inflammation, and liver hepatitis altogether. See that quite commonly in cats fed kibble. They also need a diet low in fiber because their natural diet contains minimal plant-based fiber. Fiber produces bulky stools, and cats naturally will have very small, firm, odorless stools. And very interestingly, with our clouder of cats that we have at the moment, on the days that we feed them only the raw meat diet, their stool has very little odor and is small. On days when we throw a can in there or they get canned food because I don't have anything thawed out, we get a lot more odor to this, like odor to the point where I have to clean the litter box immediately because I can't stand to be in the room. And a lot of times it's a gooier stool. It's just not that nice raw fed stool. Let's see. Very little fruits or vegetables in their diet, should be 5% or less. I like to have a little bit of that in there for that little bit of fiber that they need, and also for antioxidant support. But we want to use only low glycemic vegetables, nothing that's starchy. There should be no thickeners in their diet. It's nearly impossible to find, this is true, nearly impossible to find a canned food without some form of thickener. So they use things like tapioca, potato starch, guar gum, locust bean gum, agar-agar, xanthan gum, and carrageenan. In humans, many of the thickeners have been linked to the development of inflammatory bowel disease via dysregulation of the gut flora. So we're getting dysbiosis of the microbiome. Carrageenan is a particularly bad ingredient. I've written blogs about this in the past. It's a red algae-derived polysaccharide. But according to the International Agency for Research on Cancer, carrageenan shows sufficient evidence for the carcinogenicity of degraded carrageenan in animals to regard it as posing a carcinogenic risk to humans. So there's carrageenan 1 and carrageenan 2, and the problem is that the carrageenan, when it's high heat or when it's heat processed, we change the structure of it. And then we get this carcinogenicity. Yeah, it is absolutely allowed in pet food. So if you are feeding your cat or even dog canned food products all the time, and they have carrageenan in them, you are consistently feeding them a potential carcinogen. So we don't recommend feeding only canned food. Kind of depends. We've got new canned food coming to this country soon for dogs, and I don't think we're going to have problems with that one, but we're waiting for it to get here. All right. So the importance of feeding a cat a highly digestible, species-appropriate diet cannot be ignored nor overstated, not only for its nutritional aspect, but also for the strain the highly processed diet puts on the digestive system of the cat, particularly on the pancreas, in trying to digest a food that is devoid of proper nutrients and enzymes, ultimately resulting in inflammation. Many of the top diseases our cats suffer are directly related to their diets and can be easily avoided by providing them with whole food-based nutrition. Now let's get into some of our sciencier science. Carrageenan is in human foods too, like pudding, jello, and ice cream. Yeah, it is. Okay, so first of all, dogs, cats, and humans have different nutritional requirements. So we're going to be talking about this from a protein standpoint and amino acids. So amino acids are the building blocks of protein. In humans, we require 9 essential amino acids in our diet. Dogs require 10, and cats require 11. So you don't want to feed your cats dog food because it's going to be missing nutrients that the cat needs. So you cannot have your cat survive on dog food, particularly if we're talking kibble. All right, so let's see. Cats are unique, particularly in their nutritional biochemistry. They are strict carnivores that rely on nutrients in animal tissues to meet their specific and unique nutritional requirements. The importance of these nutritional differences is often underestimated, especially during periods when cats are ill or have prolonged anorexia, which is lack of appetite. In their natural habitat, cats consume prey high in protein with moderate amounts of fat and minimal amounts of carbohydrate. They are metabolically adapted for higher metabolism of proteins and lower utilization of carbohydrates than dogs or other omnivores. Although cats can use carbohydrates as a source of metabolic energy, they have limited ability to spare protein utilization by using carbohydrates instead. So when they are fed a low protein diet, they really struggle to replace that protein by utilizing carbs. So we end up with things like the fatty liver problems. So commercial diets are formulated with a mixture of animal and plant-derived nutrients, most commonly in dry kibble form, that requires carbohydrates for the expansion and cooking process to provide easy-to-use food for domestic cats. In other words, we've gotten lazy. And we've gotten our cats addicted to it, unfortunately. And although cats have adjusted to the manufactured diets, the limitations of substituting animal origin nutrients with plant origin nutrients in foods formulated for cats are being increasingly realized. So if cats are given a choice, they will self-select 52% protein, 46% fat, and 2% fiber. So if we gave them a choice of a bunch of different diets with different levels, that is what they would choose. However, AAFCO requirements are 25% protein. The cat wants 52, but AAFCO says, yeah, 25 is good. And AAFCO says cat food can contain up to 55% carbohydrates. Remember, the cat wanted none. They wanted 2% fiber. They did not want 55% carbohydrates. And AAFCO says it has to contain 20% fat, and yet when cats are allowed to self-select, they want 46% fat. So what AAFCO says our cats need is not even close to what our cats want and need. All right. So we need to focus on the differences in nutritional biochemistry of cats. This is from a veterinary journal, by the way. Possible roles of nutrition in the development of obesity, idiopathic hepatic lipidosis, which is fatty liver syndrome, inflammatory bowel disease, and diabetes mellitus are related to the diets that we're feeding them. The natural diet of cats in the wild is a meat-based regimen. We know that. Birds, rodents, and it contains very little carbohydrate. Cats are metabolically adapted to preferentially use protein and fat as energy sources. The evolutionary difference in energy metabolism mandates cats to use protein for maintenance of blood sugar, even when sources of protein in the diet are limiting. The substantial difference in protein requirements between cats and omnivores serves to illustrate the important metabolic distinction. The protein requirement of kittens is 1.5 times that of the young of other species. Adult cats require 2 to 3 times more protein in their diet than adults of omnivorous species. And the fact that cats have such a greater dietary protein requirement necessitates that cats must have increased requirement for essential amino acids. We're going to talk about some of those. When fed a low-protein diet, most omnivores conserve amino acids by reducing the activities of the enzymes involved in breaking down the proteins. But cats have a limited ability to adjust their protein utilization to the amount of protein in their diets. So they'll continue to use protein for production of energy and in other metabolic pathways, even in the face of low availability of proteins. The increased protein requirements are an important reason why protein malnutrition can occur more quickly in sick, injured, or anorectic cats. In addition to their increased need for dispensable protein, cats also have need for increased amounts of specific amino acids in their diet, particularly taurine, arginine, methionine, and cysteine. Their natural diet contains an abundance of each of these specific amino acids in addition to the 11 essential amino acids. Synthetic pathways for these amino acids, which are found in omnivorous species, are not found in cats because they're considered redundant and therefore energy inefficient, and cats are very efficient with their energy utilization. So, evolutionarily, why would they build in all these other pathways when, if they're fed the right diet, they don't need them? So utilization of the amino acids taurine, arginine, methionine, and cysteine is higher in cats than in dogs or other animals. Taurine is essential for vision, cardiac muscle function, and proper function of the nervous, reproductive, and immune systems. Taurine is essential in cats because they cannot synthesize enough from the typical precursors of methionine and cysteine like dogs can, which is why dogs can survive better on a high grain diet, which is high in methionine and cysteine, but they don't need that. What they really need is taurine. So enzymes required for synthesis of taurine are only minimally active in cats. Furthermore, cats have a constant and obligate loss of taurine into bile because they conjugate bile acids only with taurine. Complicating matters, the requirement for taurine in cats is influenced by many factors, including, but not limited to, the source of protein. Taurine is found in animal source proteins, but must be supplemented when plant source proteins are used in the diet. Commercial heat processing also reduces taurine bioavailability. The amount of dietary fiber increases the need for taurine in the diet as well. Prolonged deficiency of taurine is required for clinical signs to appear in most cats. The most common signs of deficiency are blindness, reproductive failure, and development of dilated cardiomyopathy. So the next essential amino acid is arginine. It's essential for dogs and cats. However, in contrast to dogs, cats are unable to synthesize arginine from other amino acids like dogs can. So it must be available in their diet. Cats and kittens fed a diet devoid of arginine have clinical signs of hyperammonemia, which is ammonia in the bloodstream. So they'll drool, they have neurologic abnormalities, seizures, vomiting, tetany, which is stiffness, and coma within hours, and the condition may progress to death. Fortunately, arginine is abundant in animal tissues, thus arginine deficiency is rare in cats consuming appropriate foods. This is why cats can't be vegetarians and vegans. You gotta supplement a lot of stuff. However, arginine supplementation must be used to avoid a deficiency in cats fed diets with plant origin protein sources. Cats also have a higher requirement for methionine and cysteine in their diet than dogs and other omnivores. The requirement for cysteine is high in cats for production of hair, and felinine, a sulfur-containing amino acid found in the urine of cats. Methionine and cysteine are found in large quantities in animal tissues, so deficiency is uncommon in cats consuming an appropriate diet. Deficiencies may develop in anorectic cats or cats fed diets that contain plant origin proteins. Methionine or cysteine deficiencies are often initially seen clinically as poor growth in kittens, crusting skin disease, and poor hair coat in adult cats. But by the way, it's found in fish and eggs. Also corn, unfortunately, which is where they get away with using a lot of corn. So other amino acids, not as high on the list, but still essential for kitty cats. Lysine, which is sensitive to heat processing, so it's going to break down during that high cooking process, found in animal muscle meat and soy. Definitely better from the animal muscle meat and not cooked at high temperatures. Lysine deficiency will result in weight loss, decreased calcium absorption, and muscle weakness. Phenylalanine is essential for the production of thyroid hormones. Tyrosine is essential for production of adrenaline, noradrenaline, and dopamine, which are all needed for proper brain function and reproduction. A deficiency will cause neurologic dysfunction, hyperactivity, loss of coordination, and it is found in poultry, pork, beef, and fish. More species-appropriate proteins. Leucine, isoleucine, and valine are responsible for protein synthesis, formation of hemoglobin, and clotting. A deficiency will result in impaired glucose regulation, weight loss, lethargy, rough coat, scabs around the eyes and mouth, incoordination, and peeling pads, found in beef, lamb, poultry, and eggs. We seeing a common thread? Histidine helps form histamines. A deficiency results in weight loss, anorexia, and cataracts, found in flesh and blood of animals and fish. Threonine, used for energy production, metabolism of fats. Deficiency will result in weight loss, anorexia, nervous system disorders. It's found in poultry, lamb, pork, beef, and fish. Common thread. Tryptophan, precursor of niacin and melatonin, regulates anxiety, sleep, stress, and serotonin production. Deficiency will result in anorexia and weight loss. Found in poultry, meat, fish, eggs, and grains. So, most of what we need for our kitty cats is found in meat products. And I have a quote down here I have to get. Sorry, I dropped that one on the floor. So I can't remember which veterinary site I found this quote on, but I'm going to end this morning's sciencier. Yes, cats can have fish. My cats eat fish all the time. They do great with fish. There is no problem with cats eating fish. Cats catch fish. Cats eat fish. They shouldn't eat it every day. So this is a quote that we're going to end this with, because this just shows how ludicrous the pet food industry is and how stupid they think consumers are. Quote, no long-term, large-scale studies have been done to test the benefits of raw, meat-based diets for domestic cats.